In this video, I'll look at animating a dolly to introduce the scene through a wide shot. First, I'll start out in shot 1, choosing cameras and shot 1. I've got my camera here, shot 1, and it's a target camera. I'll click on the label shot 1 and choose select camera. Notice also, when I right-click, I have the ability to select the camera target if needed, and also apply a camera correction modifier. Now that I've got my camera on, I'm going to look at my storyboard and see what this shot is supposed to do. I whipped up some quick storyboards. We can see here in shot 1, it's an establishing shot. We'll pan left from the entryway, maybe thinking of it as a horizontal wipe, and reveal the scene. Then we'll dolly towards the ticket booth a little bit, which leads us into shot 2. A medium shot on the ticket booth. Notice it's on the third lines here. And we'll do a slow drift, or a very, very slow bit of motion to keep the camera alive as we focus in. The next shot then, shot 3, is somebody's point of view, sneaking up maybe, or playing around on whoever's by the ticket booth. We start out close in the seating. Again, this is a detail or close shot. And then pan up, craning up actually, to reveal the clock in the ticket booth as if we're sneaking, although we don't need the bouncing motion of a sneak necessarily. We can see that all the shots also have a lens node on them, giving us a rough idea of how that focal length should look. I'll start out with my shot in shot 1. I'll dolly the camera back, using the dolly tool, making sure I don't go through that back wall. If you do go through the back wall, you can also press F3, or go into a top view by pressing T and Z to zoom extents. What I'll do with this camera initially is select it, press W to move, and simply move it where I want it to go. I'm going to treat this as a bit of a rotation to aid in that wipe or that transition. I'll right-click and select that target and pull the target over. So I actually start out looking at the windows first. I'll press C for camera and pick my camera. There's my initial shot, and so I can wipe across and reveal this scene, as this side will be mostly in black. Now to animate this. What we'll do is first add some more frames in the timeline. As you can see down here at the bottom, we have 100 frames. That's about 3.3 seconds worth. I'll go into the time configuration dialog and add in a little bit more. First, I'm going to work in the frame rate of film, or at custom at 24. It's the same thing. I'll also give myself some more frames. Right now our animation length is 80. I'll bring this up, either the frame count or the length, depending on how you'd like to count it. Let's say for this shot I'm dealing in 6 seconds, or 144 frames. We have different ways of displaying it. Right now I'm working in frames, but if you'd like to work in minutes, seconds, and ticks, SMPTE, Society of Motion Picture and Technical Engineers time code, or frames and ticks, it's up to you. I'll work in frames per now, and click OK. Now for this shot, I'll right-click and select the camera, and I'm going to work using Auto Key. What Auto Key does is automatically place keyframes for animation as we animate. I'll say that this first pan takes place over roughly 2 seconds, so I'll slide the time slider over to 48 and turn on Auto Key. N is the hotkey, and you can see that the viewport is now highlighted in a red ring, letting us know we're animated. Anything we animate will key automatically, so we need to be careful with this. I'll press spacebar for the selection lock so I don't accidentally key my seating to move, for example. I'll click the mouse wheel in and hold Shift and pan this camera to the left, and now I've got a little bit of animation to reveal the scene. Now I'll go over to the end of this frame, all the way over to frame 143, and use the Orbit tool, orbiting this camera over and trucking or panning back here to reveal it. Then I'll use the Dolly tool and dolly that camera in and pan over. What I can also do, and I probably need to make sure of, is that the target is far out enough in front. If you go too far, you'll see a flip, and that's kind of funny looking. What's actually going on is in a top view, that camera target is too close. This is why we use this target camera. I'll grab that target and pull it out. I'll select it, press W to move, and pull that target over onto that ticket booth roughly. So in my camera view, now I can dolly in. I'll pull it in, and there's my medium shot. I'll turn off auto key, go back to the beginning, and see how this looks. Pressing play, there's the pan and the dolly. I need to smooth them out a little bit, but it's working pretty nicely. Now for smoothing. I'll pull up this track view, the mini curve editor down at the bottom. What we can see is that the motion kind of bumps a little bit. That is, it pans and clunks as it goes forward. We're seeing here that the tangent type is set to linear, meaning a straight linear division of the time between keyframes. What we're seeing then, here's my shot 1 target, and if I right click and select my camera, there's the camera's motion, and there's that clunk. That's why it's happening. It's not smooth. What I'll do then is to select the keys for the camera on the red x-axis and also on the green y. Up here on the tops on my keys, I've got some quick ways to adjust them. I can do auto, and that's going to smooth these out. Now this motion is smoother. It's nice and flat and gradually increases on the x-axis as I pan over, or on the y, and I can do the same with the target. Right-clicking, choosing Select Camera Target, selecting those keyframes on the red x-axis, and setting the tangents to auto. I'll see how this looks by playing it again. I'll go back to the beginning, press play. There's my pan over, my dolly in, and slow to a stop, revealing the person standing there. I'll check it out in a shaded view and see how it looks. What we can do if we're having too much trouble playing back the view in the viewport is to make a preview, clicking on the plus in the viewport label and choosing Create Preview, Create Animated Sequence File. What this will do for us is capture the viewport, making us a preview of that animation so we can see it in an external player like Windows Media Player, for example, at true speed. I'll pull up the dialog and just hit OK to the defaults here. I'll click Create, and it's going to make me a movie. I'll make sure I go with 100% quality and click Alright. It's working. Now, the quality may not be stunning, there may be some jittering, but it's going to give me a preview and show me how this looks. My preview is complete, and I can see here in my Windows Media Player that it's neat looking, although it's a little on the fast side. That dolly is nice, and the pan works well, but boy do we come zipping across the floor, so I need to add some more frames in. It's very possible you'll need more frames in your animation, or to rethink that camera motion. A little goes a long way. 6 seconds is barely enough time to pan over and get up to that ticket booth, and it actually feels like we're racing. So here's how I'll fix this. I'll go back to my time configuration and add in another 48 frames, bringing my count up to 192. I'll click OK, and then I've got the camera selected, and I can pick this key here and pull it over. What I'll do is pick the end keyframe on the target and slide it over, and down at the bottom it actually shows me what frame I'm moving to. I'll right-click, select the camera, and do the same thing, picking its keyframe at the end and sliding it over. Now I'll play this again, going back to the beginning and panning over. There's the pan and a nice slow dolly in, and I can preview it again. It may take a couple of tries to smooth out this motion, but we can animate a camera easily in the scene and really bring it to life. As we come in, we reveal the ticket booth and whoever is there deciding on what train to go to.